Hey, family. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me see. Make sure I have everything up. Cannot believe I am going live right now. This was totally unplanned. Make sure I pull up the page correctly. I hope everybody's having a good day because this Wednesday feels like it came out swinging. All right. Good morning. Hey, Nika. Hey, AJ. It's super, super early. All right. So guys. For those of you, first of all, for those of you who are not following me or who do not have your notifications on, I am going to beg you guys, please start having your notifications on because I'm recognizing that the way things have been happening in the news cycle recently, there's going to be a lot of times where I'm going to be going live or dropping a video with no notice. Right now being a perfect example. So having notifications on, making sure the little bell thing is on, and just making sure you're following us is a perfect way to make sure that you see everything. I will say this. I was not supposed to go live right now because for those who are following, I'm actually scheduled to go live in about 2.5 hours. My friend Kendall, a lot of y'all's best friend in your head, he's actually going to be joining me at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern today to have a conversation about what he's been up to, the different projects he's working on, and this newest season of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I'm trying to watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I have not watched it since Cardi B and Joe Budden were on the cast. So it's been a little bit hectic, but I just finished Jesse's live. Oh, Jesse went live. Thank you for letting me know. I'll make sure to go watch and support. I am going live with Kendall today at 3 o'clock Pacific, but right now, as you can see from the title, I want to talk about Kenny and Janae. I was going to have Monique come on, but she had some family stuff she couldn't join. And so I said, screw it. I'm just going to go solo. Now, guys, why am I going live? I'm going live today because Kenny and Janae breaking up isn't just the only thing that has popped up. Amaya's old tweets have also resurfaced. Anti-Black tweets that feed heavily into the joke that we all say, I know black, about how Dominican people are systemically groomed to be anti-Black even when they don't mean to. And so because I think I was the first, I'm not even going to hold you. I didn't see anybody because I Googled it. When I came out and said 6 weeks ago that I thought Amaya was hooded in a different font and that I had concerns about how we were dragging Huda but clapping for her, the very first time I said it, I got dragged and cussed out. Second time I said it, I got dragged and cussed out. Then I posted it, I got dragged and cussed out. I went on Jesse Woo's live, I said it, and y'all were like, oh, maybe she's not crazy. And now me, Jesse, and several other people have been saying it repeatedly until the audience finally realized, again, I just posted a video saying this on my Instagram, we weren't wrong, we were just early. And so because so many people did not clock Amaya, I will say this, I still like Amaya as a person. And that's the thing that's so interesting about socialized, normalized dysfunction, right? That's the thing about when you are in a culture that creates an ecosystem of anti-Blackness that you're not even conscious of, right? Because the subconscious is real. When you are ingesting subconscious anti-Blackness, someone can like you, they can rock with you, they can think you have a good heart, they can think you are a good person, and still call you out on your bullshit. So I just want you guys to know, I am not an Amaya hater. I am a Kenny hater, but I'm not an Amaya hater. And so what I'm saying is coming from a place of love because my archetype for the way that I do cultural critique is James Baldwin. And James Baldwin has always said, if I love you, I must make you aware of what you don't know. So for me, compassionate critique, calling out blind spots, pointing out subconscious internal bias is part of love for me. My love language is making sure that you die on the right side of history. So this is not a drag fest. I will say this, though, as well. Everybody knows that I'm Haitian and Cuban. I mention my culture quite often in these spaces. I also have to be honest, love, and I'm not sure I've ever mentioned this on live. My father, my Cuban daddy, has a Dominican wife. My 6 brothers and sisters are all Dominican. So I'm not going to be coming at this as an angry Black woman, because y'all love to play that card. I'm not going to be coming at this as a bitter Haitian. I'm going to be coming at this as an Afro-Latin woman who is very, very pro-Black across the entire diaspora. Shout out to the entire diaspora. And who also has Dominican family members. And so it behooves me more often than usual, which is already significant, to handle this with care, because I don't want to conflate me attacking the system of anti-Blackness for me attacking individual humans. Does that make sense, guys? Because I know when you see a Black woman, particularly a Black woman in Haitian lineage, who's going to shame the devil when it comes to anti-Blackness and Dominicans, you're expecting a certain level of us versus them that I do not have in my heart. If I talk about Black people of any place, of any origin, I feel like I'm talking about my own cousins. If I talk about Dominicans, I'm talking about my actual brothers and sisters, right? And so it's tricky for me. And I'm being transparent about the lens from which I'm approaching this, because I think it's unique and it's nuanced. And hopefully by the time this is over, you will think that it's also compassionate. Now, for those of you who have not kept up, because the people who I've hit up, like, have y'all been hearing about what happened with Amaya and Kenny and Jana and X, Y, and Z? This has been happening so quickly that if you just took a long nap, you have missed updates. Okay? So it has been, somebody said, Perfect says it's a Trinidadian. I get it. Exactly. You have so much to uncover. So I'm going to approach this as if you know nothing. So for those who have been kept abreast of everything that's going on, just ride with me while I catch everybody else on. For those of you who haven't, child, we're in for a ride. So somebody's saying, I have no idea what happened with Amaya. Let's start with Amaya first, because she's probably the story that is the newest and the freshest. And so a lot of you have no idea what's happened with Amaya. Now, I have been an Amaya Papaya fan since her second week in the villa. The first week, I did not like the way that she came at Shelly. I thought it was incredibly Huda-like. I clocked it as being Huda-like up front. I did not like the way that she could not regulate her emotions whenever she got feedback from Ace. Ace isn't perfect, but there were some conversations between Ace and Amaya where, regardless of Ace's imperfections, Amaya's reactions were still problematic and troublesome. And you guys have a bad habit of, if one person is not perfect, then suddenly you immediately position the other person as a victim. And sometimes everybody can be wrong. Sometimes everybody can be wrong. So if you took any kind of just offense to how Ace spoke to Amaya, that is valid. And you can also mention that Amaya's responses were very donkey-like. Like, she has horrible emotional regulation. If you give her feedback on herself that is anything less than affirming, she's going to either cry or yell at you, or both, without fail. I've never seen Amaya take feedback without playing victim or being an aggressor. She doesn't know how to just take feedback as an equal. You're either victimizing her or she's being aggressive towards you, but she can't just take feedback. And I want to speak to, how do I say this nicely? I want to speak to those of you who keep on using the "but she's Latina" excuse. A lot of you, and I felt so alone the day that this episode came out. When the episode came out about Amaya and Huda being confronted by the Islanders for their behavior, so many of you called the boys bullies and said this is messed up. And you clapped for Brian because he came to her defense by saying, but she's a Latin woman and this is what Latin women do. Everybody clapped for that except for me. I actually despise it when someone is being held accountable for objectively questionable behavior and we use culture as an excuse to stop holding them accountable. We can use culture to inform why we behave in a certain way. We can use culture to show that something might have a different context to us than it has to somebody else. And, not but, and that doesn't mean we can use culture to absolve someone. Just because you're Latina doesn't mean you get to scream at me. And I'm saying this as a Latina who screams. I'm an Afro-Latin woman who talks very loud and who my friends every once in a while have to be like, Blue, you're screaming. And I'm like, oh, my bad. Hear what I just said, though. Even though I'm Afro-Latina and come from a culture of screaming ass people, right? If one of my friends, particularly one of my African-American friends, says to me, Blue, you're screaming right now, I don't say, but I'm not Tina. But I'm not Tina. I'm still screaming. They weren't wrong. Me being Latin and it being a dysfunctional cultural norm doesn't mean they were wrong for saying, bitch, stop screaming at me. So I need you to see from my perspective, when y'all were clapping for Brian for standing up for her, for being Latina as an excuse for her lack of emotional regulation, I did not find that romantic. I didn't find it. I found it sweet that he was speaking up for her, but the excuse itself did not move me the way it moved y'all. I thought it was incredibly problematic. And then I thought to myself, this is the same Brian who is not courting her. This is the same Brian who's telling everybody that Andriana is boring because she's not spicy. So think about it. Brian is coupled up with an emotionally regulated, very chill Latin woman who doesn't raise her voice, who has emotional regulation, who speaks clearly about her emotions, who isn't putting on a persona like Lucille Ball to yuck and pander to anybody in the villa, who doesn't play victim, and who's a very straight shooter. You guys don't give Andriana enough excuse, because even though she was a baddie, and this girl is gorgeous, okay? Even though she was gorgeous, she didn't put on the Latina persona, right? She was just a regular person. And mind you, her accent was just as thick, if not thicker, than Amaya's. And so when Brian was with an emotionally regulated Latin woman who had a reasonable amount of self-control, he called her boring. And it followed her outside of the villa. And now everybody is dragging Adriana for being a boring Latin woman just because she was emotionally regulated. Guess who else got called boring for not being, what we call it, buffoonery, right? Because we talked about how Amaya has masterfully marketed her buffoonery. And I'm saying buffoonery not to judge her. I'm saying buffoonery objectively. Like what she is doing is objective buffoonery, right? But Adriana got dragged for not subscribing to Latina buffoonery, and Shelly and Olandria also got dragged for being boring at the beginning. Before they had their moment of snapping, and y'all called them mean girls for having basic, reasonable human emotions, y'all used to call Olandria and Shelly boring because they weren't being neck swiveling, hey girl, hey black girls. So the messaging was, any black or brown woman on Love Island this season who did not subscribe to buffoonery was called boring. Andriana included. So Brian called her boring for not being loud and abrasive. But the minute that Amaya got called out for being loud, abrasive, not listening to feedback, crying, screaming, playing a victim, calling people's names, the minute she showed her ass in a way that made him comfortable, because it was a level of toxicity that he's accustomed to, now he's defending her. Be wary of men who only defend or feel masculine around women who are a mess and who have come undone. That is a sign of insecurity, guys. You guys know I'm an emotional intelligence coach, so I can't talk about pop culture without talking about emotional intelligence. And also, too, guys, Love Island is such a heavily saturated conversation right now. Anybody who talks about Love Island is guaranteed to get views and clicks, and so everybody is rushing to have Love Island commentary. And I actually abhor being part of what I consider to be noise. But the reason that I have very specifically lended my voice to this conversation over the last several weeks is because I do believe that as an EQ coach, I have a very specific and nuanced and not normal perspective on this that goes deeper than just talking about tea, right? I'm not the kind of person who can just spill tea for tea's sake. I have to feel like there's a value to the audience. And so be careful around men who are only comfortable around women who show that they are a mess. Because what that means is that man doesn't feel like that woman is going to be a threat to him. And he actually finds comfort in her falling and subscribing to gender norms around women being emotional and illogical. Someone said, anytime someone says that someone is boring, I feel like what they're really trying to say is, you're not giving me anything to victimize myself with. That's absolutely correct, by the way. People tend to, especially when it comes to reality television, where being a basket case is incentivized, people tend to really have a problem with women in particular And if you're a woman, this happens to you, and the closer you are to blackness, the more it happens to you, right? Proximity to blackness makes this even more exaggerated. So white women go through this all the time. Latina and Asian women go through it, but the closer you get to black, I know black. The closer you get to black, the more likely you are to be called boring for not being performatively ghetto. And be clear, guys, this is another thing that makes me nervous as somebody who's Afro-Latina, because a lot of women who say that they are Afro-Latina, and I'm going to be honest about my own sisters, they say Afro-Latina because they want to be seen as exotic compared to regular black women. And what have I always said? I do not believe in regular blackhood. There's nothing regular about being black. So when I say I'm Afro-Latina, I promise you that is not code for me thinking that I'm better than a black woman who is just black. Okay, I'm not one of those. Somebody just said, yep, Olandria and Shelley was called not ratchet enough, especially those black women self-hating TikTok and that girl on Twitter. Yes, guys, so many black women also subscribe to this. That's why I always say all the time, please be mindful that just because you belong to a group doesn't mean you can't harbor internal bias against that group. Self-loathing is a thing. Anti-Blackness is taught to all of us, including black people, right? Misogyny is taught to all of us, including women. And so when Brian, the same Brian who called emotionally regulated Andriana boring for not being a mess, suddenly was calling Amaya somebody that needed to be saved by him for being a mess. I was like, oh, I know what you are. I know what you are. You are one of those men who like women who are messy, because what did I always say? People in positions of power like it when we are messy, because then they get to maintain their superiority. White people love seeing black people and brown people and people of color in general act the yuck fool and be buffoons and act like jigaboos and act like, Sambos and coons, because they can be entertained while still maintaining their superiority. The same thing goes for misogynistic and or insecure men. Insecure men love women like Amaya, right? Because even if he's wrong, she's a mess. So he'll always have something to feel superior to. For those of you who are saying how much you love your black skin and your brown skin, I love that. Sorry, her name, I know her, by the way, the people who say her name is Adrienne, I cannot pronounce her name. I know how her name is spelled for those who are spelling it. I'll put it on the screen. I cannot pronounce her name. So that's not me not knowing. It's a pronunciation issue. I will say I have a Cuban tongue. There are certain words, but I also have a Haitian tongue. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Haitians are francophones. They speak French. Cubans are they have Spanish. They have Latin heritage, and they speak a different language, right? So French and Spanish in the same mouth. There are certain words that I cannot say. So you guys, that's not ignorance; it's a speech impediment. It's not an I know black, I promise, right? I will say this though. Somebody said Adarina. I don't think it's Adarina. By the way, how much do I love that you guys are trying to help me phonetically in the chat. I will say this though. After I knew that Brian and I recognized what he was, I immediately said to myself, and this is where I'm going to make this hit full circle, Brian is the new Kenny. The minute I saw Brian latching on to Amaya as soon as she was, but the girl said, I'm Haitian too, great. I still can't pronounce it. I still can't pronounce it. For those of you who are saying, why are you saying that Brian is the new Kenny? Because last year, for anybody who didn't watch season 6, I'll catch you up. Last year, when I saw how much Janae was being treated like crap, I was like, sis, no man in this villa likes you because you're a dark-skinned black woman. We all knew it, right? And you guys have to get into the habit of listening to black people, particularly black women, when we are clocking something that is part of our lived experience in reality television. Any black woman will tell you, it doesn't matter how pretty she is, it doesn't matter how accomplished she is, it doesn't matter how objectively gorgeous she is, shout out to Alandria, it doesn't matter how likable she is. Every black woman that you've ever known who was racially non-ambiguous can tell you there's a moment when she's like, you only are not checking for me because I'm black. If I was white presenting, or anything exotic, this exact same features, exact same persona, exact same everything would be getting a lot more attention from you. Every black woman I know, if there's any black woman in the comments, I'm actually going to do something provocative. If there's any black woman in this audience right now, and make sure you have a screen picture so I can make sure that you're a black person and not a bot, who can say that they have made it through this world at least 30 years of their lives. So if you're under 30, maybe not so much. but has gotten to the age of 30 and above and has never clocked that someone did not find them attractive or wasn't checking for them only because of their Blackness? Please raise your hand. And by Blackness, I don't just mean color. I mean featureism, texturism. Anti-Blackness is not just about complexion, right? If you have, perfect example, Tatiana Ali is a woman who is my complexion or darker, and she has good hair, as you like to call it, and more white presenting features. And so if you're a dark skinned Black woman who like Chili or Tatiana Ali with silky hair and small features, that's still anti-Blackness, guys. That's still colorism. Colorism is not just about color. Because some of you have told me that I'm not dark enough to talk about colorism, which is so weird because I grew up in the 90s where I was chocolate. So I don't know this whole thing y'all doing about brown skin versus dark skin. Me and Kendall are going to talk about that in our live this afternoon at 3 o'clock Pacific. But regardless of what you think about the different shades of color, texturism and everything else, we know how to clock it when somebody's not checking for us, but is checking for a woman who looks just like us, if not less attractive than us. We all know how to clock it. Right? We all know that feeling. Someone just said, 29 years old, been fighting off weirdos who want me because I'm light skinned. Exactly. But what's going to happen is they either don't want you because you're Black, or they make sure that you know where you fit on the hierarchy of Blackness. Light skinned women understand it. Dark skinned women understand it. Biracial women understand it. We play stupid a lot. Like just because we don't belong to a certain group that we don't clock shit, I think we all deep down know the truth. So I'm watching the show and I'm just like, damn, Brian is the new Kenny. Because last year, nobody wanted Janae, but just like Amaya, Janae was heavily popular. And nobody was checking for Kenny. So Kenny knew the only way he would get screen time was by giving the time of day to the one dark girl that nobody else was checking for that was still loved by America and his castmates. It's the same thing that Brian did. Now, Brian had the extra layer of protection because at least he was picking a more racially ambiguous fellow Latina. But to me, Brian is just Kenny in a different font. Brian is just Chris in a different font. The producers keep casting the same raw material in different outfits over and over and over again. That's where the Amaya and Huda is Huda in a different font. A line that I made that's gone viral now, nobody's giving me credit for. That's where that came from. I was like, yo, these casting directors are lazy. They keep casting the same person over and over and over again in different bodies. That's why it's so easy to have direct lines between all the different castmates from different seasons, right? They are called archetypes. For those who don't know, an archetype is a certain profile of personhood that you think is going to do well on television. And so you look for that archetype in different bodies because you know that people in general subscribe to it, right? And so last year, Janae was not wanted by anybody. People got almost as close as you could get to being anti-Black without actually saying it. But we could all smell it in the air. Now, here's the thing about being on the right side of history, even if you're early. Because you know that video I said about sometimes you're not wrong, you're just early? Last year I said, guys, I'm not saying this to be anti-Dominican because I have Dominican family. I'm saying it as somebody who has Dominican family and is Afro-Latin and is dark-skinned and knows how this works. Kenny don't like that girl. Kenny cannot bring that girl home and have his mama want her to have his babies. I knew immediately. I know because I have Dominican family, I know a Dominican who's pro-Black versus an anti-Black, I know Black Dominican, just like that. I can clock it. A perfect example of a Dominican person who's very pro-Black, Rosa Acosta. Rosa is one of my good friends. She's been on my podcast before. I might invite her to come on live. I would have invited her to this one, but Rosa doesn't watch Love Island. Rosa Acosta, for those of you who don't know, she's like a beautiful video vixen who then became an entrepreneur. She's on several shows with Nick Cannon right now. Rosa is Dominican and is a very pro-Black Dominican. Rosa drags Dominicans harder than most Black people I know, right? And she's proudly Dominican because, again, you can love your country and still call bullshit. You can love your culture and still call bullshit. Because like James Baldwin said, once again, if I love you, I must be willing to tell you of the things that you are unwilling to acknowledge. So I know a lot of pro-Black Dominicans. I also know the others. Okay? I very quickly clocked that Kenny was one of the others. So when he got with Janae, the darkest, most undesirable by social currency stakes girl, and the thing I was like, a Dominican man picking the darkest girl in the villa who nobody wants to be with, but she's hella popular. I know. You don't have to be Miss Cleo to have clocked it, but apparently you did, because you all dragged me and called me names. If there's anybody who wants to apologize to me right now, just let me know. Just let me know. And for the people saying Kenny played the good guy for a year, damn, there are men who are in 20-year marriages who don't like their wives. How many times have we seen a struggle bus post from someone saying, I didn't think you were pretty when we first met, and you're not my type, and I usually like light-skinned girls with curly hair, but you've been good to me. And here we are 20 years in. How many times have you seen struggle love posts about men who think their wives are ugly, but they stuck with them because she's gonna give them the big piece of chicken? A man who is willing to be with a woman for the sake of convenience is nothing new. And men who love you will tell you that, right? The reason why I call men out so easily is because I have so many good guys in my life who will clock other men in my presence. So now I'm watching what happened with Kenny and Janae last year, and I'm saying, guys, I don't believe it. Everybody tells me, Blue, shut the fuck up. That was a direct quote. Somebody literally posted in my comments, Blue, STFU. I was like, okay, I can read the room. This is not a popular opinion. I wasn't making as many videos back then, so I didn't have enough receipts. I was like, I'm just going to let it cook. I'm going to let it cook. The year goes by, and I'm watching them, and every time I see them, I'm like, he still doesn't like her. I can tell. Then Beyond the Villa. The ads for Beyond the Villa come out, and the storyline in the trailer is Janae asking Kenny, why don't you want to move in with me? We've been together a year. We're madly in love. Why don't you want to move in with me? My first thought was, girl, he don't like you. He just wants to be on the show. And y'all were like, oh, it's the producer's fault. The producers are giving Janae the black girl edit. I keep on telling y'all, the producers could only do so much. You have to give them something to work with. If Kenny was enthusiastically in love with his girl, there's nothing the producers could do to take that away from him. Perfect example is Nicolandria. Because the producers were very anti-black season 7, but Nick stood 10 toes down on his not just desire, but valuing of Olandria. Even when he did not have a chance in hell with Olandria by anybody's standards, Nick always protected her to the point where the producers had nothing to work with and had to eventually acknowledge that he cared about her. So if you are somebody with the consistency of character, the producers can only do but so much. But if you want some funny shit, they can have fun. So the Beyond the Villa trailer comes out, and Janae is crying about the fact that Kenny doesn't want to move in with her. And I'm thinking, girl, I'm the only person in America who thinks this nigga doesn't want you. So this is going to be awkward. Meanwhile, simultaneously, I'm watching Love Island. I'm watching Brian treating Amaya like a light-skinned Janae. And I'm just like, you don't like her either. But then I thought to myself, well, maybe the fact that they're both Dominican will help him be better. Well. When I clocked that Amaya and Huda were the same person, I said that one of the things that bothered me was that interaction with Shelly. It only happened once. I'll give Amaya credit. Unlike Huda, whose anti-Blackness was falling out of her purse like hard candies. It only happened with Amaya once. But the way Amaya approached Shelly when she found out that Ace was making Shelly breakfast and, tap dancing for Shelly's approval while Shelly was coupled up with Austin and playing it cool. Shelly could not have been any more cool dealing with Ace. Shelly was very much like Serena last year with Cordell, where Cordell was doing backflips and Serena was like, I'll just see how this goes, right? So Shelly was not all over Ace. Shelly was not doing anything that would be considered not a girl's girl. And y'all know I don't like that girl's girl conversation. And yet, Amaya cussed her out. Amaya cussed her the clean out as if she was all over that boy. And Shelly was like, girl, what are you talking about? I am barely paying attention to Ace. He keeps coming for me. Why are you mad at me? That's the moment I said, oh, damn. Amaya, the Dominican girl, is cussing out this dark-skinned Haitian girl because a guy is being nicer to her than she is to Amaya. Yikes. I hope to God this is not that. Did anybody else clock that? I'm going to look in the audience. Did anybody else clock the Dominican Amaya, the only woman that Dominican Amaya yelled at and got nasty with was Shelly at the height of Shelly minding her business and not checking for Ace? I'm going to look at the comments real quick. Because it felt like, when somebody's mask slips off very quickly and nobody else catches it? That's the moment that I began to fear that Amaya might not be like Rosa Acosta, one of the good Dominicans who's pro-black, that she might be an I know black. That was the exact moment that I clocked it. Somebody said, I never saw it for Amaya. Clark did. I'm telling you. And here's the thing, though. Why didn't I speak up then? Because y'all were still cussing me about Kenny and Janae in season 6. I was like, y'all already calling me names for last season, and that story hasn't panned out yet. Again, sometimes you're not wrong. You're just early. I was like, I'm already way too early on Janae and Kenny. I don't need another reason for y'all to send me hate mail. Because I'm still a person. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fun getting cussed out on the internet. I don't lose sleep about it, but it's not fun, right? So as I'm watching this, I was just like, somebody said, what episode did she get, read this, what episode did she get rude with Shelly? I need to watch it again because I don't remember it. I must have fell asleep during that part. Yes, it was after, for those of you who are wondering, it was after Ace had the conversation with Amaya about the fact of, girl, you touching me too much. I don't like you like that, right? And she had that emotional breakdown. After the emotional breakdown, I think it was like the next morning, Shelly was in the girls' locker room doing her hair and makeup and all that other stuff and minding her business. That's the thing that was so crazy is Shelly was probably the coldest to Ace at this moment. She was actually trying to see if her and Austin might have something, right? So she was sincerely trying to see if her and Austin had something, and Ace picking Amaya had made her pull back on him. Any woman with high self-esteem will tell you, if I really, 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 really like you, but you show off and bring another girl into the equation, I don't care how much you like you, I'm falling back. So the irony of Amaya's breakdown was Shelly had seen Ace pick Amaya and not her, and she fell all the way back. So Ace is out here telling Amaya, keep your hands to yourself. You're too touchy-feely. I don't like you like that. We just met. And Shelly's like, oh, you picked Amaya? Say less. Austin, let's go do some yoga together. So Shelly was actually ignoring Ace a little bit because she didn't like what he had done. None of us liked it. And that's the moment when Amaya confronted Shelly and said, well, if you and Ace had something going on, then why didn't you tell me? Pause. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was told that the bombshells are allowed to see the episodes leading up to them coming in so they can pick who they like. I was told that bombshells are allowed to see footage coming in so they can pick who they like. And that hypothesis is strengthened by the fact that every single time in every single franchise of Love Island that I've ever watched, because I've watched almost all the franchises except for Canada. Canadians are too nice, y'all. Every single time a bombshell comes in, they say, you were the one that I wanted to meet. You were the one that I had my eye on. And in fact, in Love Island UK, they'll often have the bombshells pick who they want to go on a date with before they even enter the villa. And the guy or girl who's picked will meet the bombshell on a date and then come back and introduce them to the audience. Am I the only one who watches Love Island internationally? So the fact that bombshells are allowed to watch the show before they come in means that you knew already that Ace liked Shelly. So why are you attacking Shelly as if she was, let me put my head back down because when I get upset, my hair pulls up. Why are you attacking Shelly as if she lied to you when you knew that he and Shelly had something going on before you came in the villa and still were trying to get with him? Am I crazy, guys? Somebody just put this in. They said, Amaya, what does it say? Amaya kissed Shelly. Sorry. Bombshell tend to go back home because the contestants choose the OGs. Absolutely. Amaya kissed Austin twice behind Shelly's back and was guilt-free. Clark it. Amaya kissed Austin twice behind Shelly's back and was guilt-free, but cried for even the thought of talking to Charlie, who was with the blonde girl. So look at this. I love you guys. Anybody who's watching the replay, please watch the comment section. One thing I will give to all several hundred of you who are in this live right now is I love how intelligent you are. And this is why people always tell me, Blue, emotional intelligence is too highbrow. The audience is not going to understand it. You're being too deep. I have never believed that. I always believe that the audience is as smart or as stupid as you allow them to be. If you come to the audience stupid, you will drag them down with you. If you come to the audience smart, you will lift them up with you. I will never, and I guarantee you guys, I will never talk to you as if you were dumb. Because the comments that I'm seeing right now in the live chat are proving to me that you get it. You just need somebody to give you permission to say it out loud because you know the first person to say it gets dragged. And I'll be that person. I don't mind being a sacrificial lamb child. I'm 20 years into my career. I'm used to getting death threats, right? So I was like, how crazy is it that you're attacking Shelly while she's minding her business for the fact that the guy who liked her before you came in still likes her? And that's the moment that I started to fear that Amaya might have been one of those I know Black Dominicans, which breaks my heart. Because here's the thing, guys. Because I have 6 Dominican brothers and sisters, and their mother was anti-Black and would not let us be raised together, I was literally the black sheep of my family, which is why when I say I'm not dark skinned, I'm like, are you sure? Because God knows I paid for it, right? Because I have so much childhood pain around not being accepted by my Dominican brothers and sisters because they weren't allowed to grow up with me. Whenever I meet a Dominican person who is lovely and pro-Black and safe, I get excited. In my mind, subconsciously, yes, me and my therapist have worked through this. Subconsciously, I think when I see Dominican people who are pro-Black, it feels like, oh my God, I can connect with them the way that I couldn't connect with my siblings. So again, I have every reason in the world to make excuses for Amaya. But the way my stomach flipped, I was like, oh no, I know what this is. I was like, yeah, I know what this is. This makes me nervous. By the way, shout out to everybody who's throwing in the tips. I appreciate it because I will tell you, those studio episodes of Humanized that we do are very expensive. So thank you to everybody for showing love. Thank you to Kemi said the bombshell asking for a date prior to coming in. Didn't watch 4 or 5, so I don't know when they stopped. Exactly. The bombshells have a tendency to know what's going on. So the Amaya thing just felt odd to me. It felt performative to me. And it also felt Huda-like to me. For anybody who's wondering, Amaya screaming at Shelly was the exact moment that I realized that she was Huda. That was the moment. If anybody can figure out what episode it is, let me know. So when I come back, I can tell you guys exactly what episode to watch. So now I'm like, okay, Amaya is probably one of those girls who thinks she's better than Black girls. But in this villa where all the Black girls are popular, she only yelled at Shelly one time until she realized that Shelly was popular, and suddenly she's up Shelly's ass. Suddenly she's up Alandria's ass. And yet her bestie is Huda. You're suddenly nice to the Black women that you thought you were better than, and then become besties with the other more racially ambiguous girl who also has hate towards these girls. You guys, I'm going to say something I've never said before, and this is purely speculation. Purely speculation. As somebody with journalistic integrity, I will never conflate facts for observation or hypothesis. When the Islanders are eating lunch and dinner, they are not on camera and they are not mic'd up. And a lot of times the producers try to keep them sequestered from each other because they think it's unattractive to watch people in sexy bikinis eating pasta and sloppy joes. If you've watched any of the interviews, everybody who goes on the show tells you the reason why breakfast is such a big deal is because we are not allowed to eat dinner on camera or lunch on camera. So that's why breakfast gets so much tea. That's why people are worried about pancakes and shit, right? Because it's the only meal that you're allowed to really see. Knowing that there are moments where the mics are off because there's food involved, I would not be surprised if Amaya and Huda bonded quietly over their mutual jealousy about Alandria and Shelly getting the attention that they thought they should have gotten. Oh, for the person saying like the video, yes, please like the video because it helps pull up the algorithm. I would not be surprised if the reason why Amaya, when she was at the bottom of the food chain, became close to Huda, even though Shelly and Olandria were super nice to her. I would not be, because when Shelly got cussed out by Amaya, Shelly didn't return the favor. Shelly was like, girl, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm with Austin and I can't take responsibility for how Ace moves. We don't have no beef. So the fact that she yelled at Shelly and Shelly showed her grace, and Olandria was repeatedly said to be the mother of the house, who was constantly holding people to her bosom and taking care of them. Everybody on the island, including Taylor, admitted that Olandria was the mother of the house. So if you are at the bottom of the food chain and all the men are clowning you and nobody wants to couple up with you, and Shelly has shown you grace, but maybe you don't want to get close to her because it feels weird being close with the girl who Ace likes when Ace doesn't like you. Why wasn't Olandria the person that you were opening up to when Olandria was the mother of the house? Olandria was both popular and safe. Why would you become besties with Huda, the person who people were treating like she was a biohazard? You know that old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? I can't help but shake the feeling And you guys know I'm intuitive, I'm psychic, so sometimes I can't tell if I'm having a feeling or I'm having a download. I honestly can't tell which one right now. I'm gonna be honest, I can't tell which one. I cannot shake the feeling that part of the reason why Huda and Amaya got close and became besties in the villa and got even closer after they came out was because they have a shared disdain for the popularity of the two darkies. Again, if I'm wrong, but there's a good chance I might be early. I'm gonna let that breathe for a second, right? I sincerely think, because think about it, if Amaya was the nice girl that you all say she is, why wasn't she more upset about finding out how anti-Black and problematic Huda was coming out of the villa? Somebody said episode 8, 15 minutes in. Thank you, Kemi. Kemi, you're doing the Lord's work, child. I appreciate you. So think about it. Because here's the thing, right? A good person does not like to be in the presence of mess. If I was having Olandria be the person who was consoling me and everybody else, and I see that Olandria and Shelly are getting all this hate mail, and I see that my bestie in the villa is actually the person who's being revealed to be anti-Black and hurtful and divisive, and I'm watching back the episodes, and I'm going on live with Brian saying, thank you for all the love, why are me and Huda only getting closer? Everybody said they were cool in the villa, but they got even closer. So I'm just going to say this. This is all a long-winded way of saying, because Amaya had my antenna go up when she cussed out Shelly for no reason, and then realized, oh, this Black girl's too popular, let me leave her alone. But then ran to be besties with the most anti-Black woman in the villa. I think Huda was more anti-Black than Iris and other white girls. Sometimes BIPOC women, I'm going to say this right now to the camera, sometimes non-Black BIPOC women who are competing with Black women for our men are more racially biased and problematic towards us than white women. Can we be honest, guys? If there is a Vietnamese girl who likes Black guys, she's probably going to be more anti-Black than white women because she's competing directly with us. If there is a Latina woman who's been told that she's better than us, she's going to probably be more anti-Black than a white woman. If there is and mind you, peep that I'm saying anti-Black, not racist, because you cannot be a BIPOC person and be racist, guys. You can be anti-Black, but you cannot be racist because racism is power. It's discrimination plus systemic power, right? Dominicans don't have systemic power. So I will not put that on anybody because I understand what words mean academically. So I'm saying anti-Black intentionally. But like, it's one of those things where I was just like, fudge. I think Amaya might be worse than I thought even after the villa. Because remember, I clocked her as being Huda in the villa. She became worse after the villa, right? So all this stuff happens where people are like, damn, Blue, you might be right. Even though we cussed you out for a month straight before we all started quoting you, you might be right that Amaya is Huda in a different font. And you know what? I felt vindicated because here's the thing. I don't say things to be right or wrong. I just want to make sure that my people are educated. Because in this age that we live in, where the Department of Education in America is being attacked by the Trump administration and everything is happening to make us stupid so that we can be sheep and therefore easier to manipulate, education is the antidote. As long as the administration is in power, I will be going extra hard to educate y'all because that's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes me dangerous, right? So I was just trying to educate. But then this morning, in the middle of the Kenny and Janae drama, which we're going to eventually get to, I see something on my timeline about Amaya. Now, mind you, I had to wait a year for y'all to realize that I was right about Kenny and Janae. So I'm used to playing the long game. I have friends who had to wait 5 years to come apologize to me. I had a friend who had to wait 10 years. I'm used to minding my business and then people residually coming up and saying, my bad, Blue, you were right back in 96. I'm used to that. But the Amaya thing, Amaya, we haven't even gotten to the reunion yet. Somebody said, yes, Blue, it's like they look at Black women, we are in their way. We are actually in their way. They're not wrong. I'm objective enough to admit that they're not wrong. We are in their way, right? And so I was like, there's no way in hell that Amaya has only been out the villa for 2 weeks and she already got caught doing the thing that I knew that she did. Well. I'm not going to put anything on the screen because the last live that I did, by the way, thank you for everybody who showed up to that live We had us a time. It was like 11,000 people by the time it was over. In that live, I posted a lot of videos because I was just getting excited, and then I got demonetized and a bunch of copyright strikes. So I'm not going to post the videos. I apologize. I will read it to you though and tell you where to find it. On Twitter, receipts have revealed themselves in the last 24 hours of Amaya posting anti-Black rhetoric in tweets that she forgot to delete. Got it. Oh boy, Jay. Look, I don't enjoy being right, especially this fast. I thought I at least had a couple of months before y'all figured out Amaya was a little anti-Black. But in one of the tweets, it says, nah, this shit is hilarious. And she reposted, this is actually a Facebook post from Amaya Elizabeth that was posted on July 27, 2014, 10 years ago. And before people say, well, Blue was only 10 years ago, that doesn't take away from what I'm saying. I'm saying that she was raised in a system of anti-Blackness that she subscribed to. That means as a child, she subscribed to it and she probably still thinks it unless she's come out and said it. Here's the thing, guys. If Amaya had come out and been more pro-Black and defended Shelly and Olandria after she found out how much hate mail they were getting, I would be open to the argument that this was 10 years ago and she's evolved. The fact that she not only did not come out to defend them explicitly, she doubled down on her friendship with the person who was the architect of their demise. That's why this being 10 years ago doesn't make it feel outdated to me. Okay? Before y'all even start saying it was 10 years ago. Okay, not everybody evolves. There was a post that said, facts about skin colors. Amaya posted this, guys. She reposted it. Facts about skin colors. This is what it looks like if you want to look for it on Facebook or Twitter. And here's what Amaya posted. Light-skinned girls are 25% thoughts, very Hollywood, and take the best pictures. Everybody wants to wife them. They got the best hair, got the best bodies if they're Spanish, and they could be scammers, but they're also undercover freaks. That's what it said about light-skinned girls. Then it says brown-skinned girls are 65% thoughts, like to fuck with scammers, do anything for likes, got nice bodies, always wear weave, and think the shit they when they got on truths. I don't know what that last one thinks. Think they're the shit. So brown skin girls think they're the shit and have nice bodies, regardless of if they're Spanish or not, apparently. Then it says dark skin girls, 100% thoughts. All dark skin girls are thoughts. They will do anything for money. They look at the camera while they're getting fucked. They always use filters to make them lighter. And their vaginas look like burnt hot dogs. And they will sleep with your bros on a staircase. Amaya Papaya reposted a meme that said that everybody wants to wife a light-skinned girl because they have nice bodies, especially if they're Spanish. Brown-skinned girls have nice bodies, but are 65% thoughts. And if you are a dark-skinned girl, nobody wants you, and your vagina looks like burnt hot dogs. If you are a dark-skinned girl, nobody wants you, and your vagina looks like burnt hot dogs, and it's 100% chance that you are a thought. And men only use you for sex, and will F you in a staircase. I'm trying to find nice ways to say I told you so without looking smug, because I don't like smug people. But it's actually obscene how right I've been and how early I've been. It's actually obscene. So the girl who posted that nobody wants a dark-skinned girl because our vaginas look like hot dog franks, burnt hot dog franks, is the same girl who then went into the villa and cussed out Shelly because she was aghast that Ace would prefer Shelly to her. And y'all tell me I'm tripping? Somebody said be smug, Blue. No, I'm trying not to. I'm an emotional intelligence coach. Smugness is something I don't live in my spirit. Somebody said, oh, that song Amaya was singing about to go triple platinum once she asked ChatGPT to help her write her apology. Somebody said, as a dark-skinned woman, I don't know if I should laugh or sarcastically or cuss. The fact that Amaya would post something this egregious as facts. Here's the thing. It's one thing to write it. It's something else to read it, see the reaction to it, and have the caption, now this shit is hilarious, and repost it. Somebody said, tag a friend who Oop. Sorry, guys. I forgot to put on my do not disturb. By the way, this live was impromptu, so I'm gonna put my do not disturb on right now. So there was a video for Barbie Valentino called Slow Down. Amaya reposted the video. I'm going to do the screen grab because I don't want to get another copyright strike. I'm going to show the screen grab, right? This video from Barbie Valentino. And somebody said, tag a friend who remembers Barbie Valentino's single, Slow Down. And Amaya posted, this looks like a dark skin trying to talk to a light skinned girl, but she don't want to slow down. Amaya, what do you mean by that? Amaya, what do you... Yeah, what do you mean by that? Then there was another post in 2015, a year later. Amaya posted a video, your mom's face when you introduce her to your black boyfriend. And it's a picture of a woman looking upset. So not only is Amaya making fun of the fact that dark-skinned black women are not desirable. And shout out to how nuanced her hate was. Her hate said, light skin is cool, especially if they're Spanish. So she's talking about her. Brown skin is 65% a ghetto hood rat, but at least you're not dark. And dark skin, nobody wants you, and you have vaginas like burnt hot dogs. But then she posts, oh, and for the men, well, if we bring home a man who is black, this is the look our mothers are gonna have. And it's a picture of a woman, Kim Kardashian, going ill. Guys, the reason why I'm pausing is because I want to give you guys a chance to sit with the way people tell on themselves when they have nothing to lose and then feign stupidity. Did you hear what I just said? Feign stupidity. I keep on saying the reason why Amaya is infantilizing herself, pretending to be an infant, her voice has completely changed. We've all seen the videos of her 3 months ago with a whole different voice. She's speaking in a baby voice and acting like an infant and crying all the time because that is more likable. That is more palatable than her just admitting that she's a colorist Dominican. If Amaya had not put on a baby voice and not played stupid and not intentionally mispronounced words, because there's no way in hell that you are a nurse. Again, my whole family has gone to nursing school. You have to be incredibly smart to go to nursing school and actually pass. Nick's a nurse, and so's Amaya. Amaya is as smart as Nick, arguably speaking. Right? For you to be that smart and play that stupid, it's because if Amaya had not played stupid and become America's sweetheart, her being friends with Huda would have gotten her smoke. The more she became friends with Huda, the dumber she talked. Y'all think that's a coincidence? Y'all really think it's a coincidence? It's like when a man is talking to a girl who he knows wants to sleep with him, and his girlfriend's like, yo, your homegirl wants to sleep with you. What does he do? He plays even stupider. Nah, that's not even true. She got a man. I'm not even her type. All the brothers in here can attest to that. I have too many male friends for y'all to lie to me. When someone is trying to play dirty and doesn't want to get caught, they do it by playing stupid so that you think they're too dumb to be clever. Somebody said, well, I don't know about the smart part. My cousin isn't, and she's a nurse. Your cousin's probably playing stupid too, guys. I promise you, there's different kinds of intelligence. Somebody doesn't have to be book smart to be smart. And can I be honest? I know a lot of people who, if y'all had to bet your savings account on, you would swear up and down were idiots. And they come to me for my one-on-one coaching sessions where there's nobody else watching, and I watch the mask fall off. I promise you, most dummies that you have been cracking jokes on all your whole life are playing stupid. And you know why? It's a thing called weaponized incompetence. Weaponized incompetence is what happens when you play stupid and pretend to not be able so that people can give you a pass for not doing what you're supposed to do. Husbands do it all the time. Wives do it all the time. When you ask your husband to wash the dishes, and so he intentionally washes them bad. Why? So that you'll never ask him to wash them again. That's weaponized incompetence. So Amaya and her Dr. Seuss one-liners that somebody posted in the chat has been playing y'all this entire time. I didn't fall for it. I've been saying this entire time, I don't think Amaya is as stupid as she pretends to be. And the fact that she has changed her voice to sound even stupider kind of proves my point. So now we have Amaya being released. And you guys, if you see any more examples, because there's so many tweets that Amaya has forgotten to delete that have been popping up. If you see any more examples, feel free to share them in the chat after this is over. But like, I need you to understand that the Amaya news came out just as the Kenny news came out. Now, some of you might not know this, but I actually have a Patreon podcast with Bridget Kelly called Everything is Fine, because the joke is everything is not fine, right? And our mascot is, you know, that meme of a dog sitting in a room that's on fire, and the room's on fire, and the dog just sitting there like, everything's fine, everything's fine. That's why our show is called Everything is Fine. And so on our Patreon show yesterday, we had a live with our followers on Patreon, and we were talking to them about what was happening with Kenny and Janae. Because for those who don't know, Kenny and Janae literally on Sunday were at a birthday party, kikiing with all the castmates. Like everything was fine. The very next morning, Janae, all the cast members, Ariana Maddox, and Peacock, the Peacock app, all unfollowed Kenny, all in one fell swoop on Monday morning. And people were like, wait, how is this possible? They were all over Snapchat hugging and kissing Sunday night. We wake up on Monday morning, and not only are they broken up, People Magazine is announcing they're broken up. Ariana and Peacock have unfollowed him. All the castmates have unfollowed him. What is going on? And so yesterday, before the news came out about what actually was going on, there was heavy speculation. And me and Bridget and our Patreon followers were like, what did he do? People were like, oh, well, he must have cheated on her. And I was like, no. Cheating is very normalized in reality TV. They would not have unfollowed him for cheating. They would have taken sides. Ariana would not have. Well, Ariana might have, because Ariana was part of the Scandival cheating scandal. So she might have unfollowed. But Peacock wouldn't unfollow somebody for cheating, because that's a great spinoff for them to make more money. It couldn't have been cheating. And somebody was like, well, maybe he cheated and got like a young girl pregnant who was underage. Maybe some R. Kelly type stuff. Like, we were making up all types of scenarios. In the middle of us doing that live, Janae released a statement. And I have the statements here because I want to make sure that I'm reading everything directly from the source, because when things are this delicate, I do not want to paraphrase and get anything wrong. Somebody said, I don't know how I feel about using posts or tweets from when someone was younger. Oh, Jasmine, you need to watch earlier in the live. You must have came early. We're saying that the tweets when she was younger are substantiated how she acted last month. So how do you feel about somebody being held accountable for last month? Last month, Amaya was doing things that we found problematic. So all the tweets are doing is substantiating that she hasn't evolved. For anybody who's coming in late, please know, do not use the whole old tweets argument. We already addressed that. Watch the playback of the live. I said that had her behavior evolved, had she come out and said the anti-Blackness against Alandria and Shelly is problematic, I would have said, hey, girl, you've evolved. I love to see an evolution story, because my entire job as a coach is to help people evolve. If I didn't believe in evolution, I wouldn't have a job, right? But the fact that she not only didn't come out to defend them, she actually doubled down on her friendship with Huda after finding out that Huda was the source of their anti-Black trauma. That's why I was like, oh, honey, not only have you not evolved, you're doubling down. So, Jasmine, thank you for saying that. And I hope that anybody else who missed that part got that, because it's really important. Somebody said, Amaya is acting upon the terrible history of fair-skinned Dominicans against darker-skinned Haitians. This is terrible. Yes, and the fact that Shelly, the person the only woman she attacked in the entire villa was a Haitian woman, a dark-skinned Haitian woman. So I was like, wait a minute. I want to believe you evolved, but the only woman you cussed out in the entire season of the show was a dark-skinned Haitian woman. And now you're best friends with the person who's causing the dark-skinned Haitian woman and her dark-skinned African-American friend to get bullied. Nothing about that says evolution, guys. I believe in evolution. I'm actually not a punitive person. If Amaya had evolved, I'd be her biggest supporter. 10 toes down. And I don't mind being unpopular. If Amaya had evolved, I'd be telling y'all to leave her alone because the girl is growing. What more do you want from her? But she hasn't. So then the Janae thing happens, and I'm just like, what's going on? In the middle of my Patreon with Bridget yesterday, we see something from Kenny, where Kenny writes this long apology. And the apology is him saying, you know, it's a shame it didn't work out. You know, typical fuckboy behavior. It's a shame our relationship didn't work out, you know, but I wish you the best. Like this typical ChatGPT kind of response. Janae responds, and she says, at Kenny Rodriguez, she literally tagged him. Because you know a woman wants smoke when she tags you. Like, nah, I don't need your friends to tell you about this. I'm going to tag you directly. At Kenny Rodriguez, shut the fuck up. I don't mean to laugh, but that's wild. You were with this man for a year, wanted to move in with him, wanted to marry him. And now, 48 hours after you were kissing him on Snapchat, it's shut the fuck up. So something bad happened. Kenny Rodriguez, shut the fuck up. You manipulative liar. You're not taking accountability and telling people the type of person you really are is insane to me. My first statement was being nice. Do not piss me off. Then Leah, the person who Huda wanted to be but couldn't pull off, okay? If you think that you liked Huda, you're on the wrong side of history. You actually like Leah. Leah speaks out against anti-Blackness. Leah is flawed and crashes out and takes accountability. Leah is who Amaya and Huda on their best day could not be but wanted to be, okay? So Leah is the blueprint for what Huda and Amaya were both trying to pull off. So Leah, the originator, and I will give her this because as an Arab woman who is showing nothing but solidarity with Black people, that really speaks to my heart. I do believe that if you are somebody who's pro-Black, you have to believe in allies, because we didn't create anti-Blackness and we can't eradicate it on our own. So I am always down to be aligned with a well-vetted ally. Leah has proven time and time again that she's a well-vetted ally. She's not perfect. All those excuses y'all make for Huda actually are applicable to Leah, okay? Give your grace to Leah. Leah responds to Janae and says, in her own story, mind you, Leah has millions of followers across platforms, like 8 figures of followers, tens of millions of people follow Leah against all the platforms. And she writes to all those people, at Kenny Rodriguez, by the way they keep tagging this boy so that he don't miss nothing. Kenny Rodriguez, put a sock in this chat GPT head ass apology. Tell the truth for once. You racist, clout, money hungry, and scammer since day one. Trying to make it seem like it's something that it's not. So then I said, now hold on. Oh, she's Persian, not Arab. Thank you for the correction, guys. So then I said, now hold on. Racist? Leah, the fan fave that everybody adored and was using as sound bites all through 2024 and 2025, just called Kenny racist. When I said last year that I thought Kenny was an anti-Black Dominican who was pretending to like Janae for clout, but doesn't probably like Black women in general, y'all called me names. But now Leah is calling him racist. At this point, my ears started to perk up. Racist. Bitch, could you have been right? So I did some digging. And a couple of my friends who know people, I'm not going to say too much, because one of the things when you work in press, you have to be really careful about citing your sources versus who wants to be anonymous. Certain people who are attached to different parties, I'm picking my words carefully, certain people who are attached to different parties were like, Blue, somehow, we don't know if it was a group chat or something was leaked where Janae saw what Kenny was saying about her to his friends in a group chat. And it was incredibly anti-Black. And he was calling her the N-word and saying that he was only dating her for clout and that he couldn't wait for it to be over. And I said, that would be enough. That would be enough for Peacock and Ariana and all your castmates. Because you know, the one thing that will make them pull away, Sierra and Lisa can tell you this, is racism, because Peacock cannot afford any more racism claims against them, considering they have been bought out by people who are Zionists, and there's a whole other conversation about that. Peacock can't afford racism claims. So I was like, wait a minute, that's a really inflammatory thing. But if Leah feels comfortable calling him racist in front of millions of people, and now my sources are telling me that Janae got her hands on a group chat where he was calling her the N-word and making fun of her to his friends. Could that be it? Could Kenny actually be who I thought he was the entire time? So then I did some more digging. And over time, more things came out. And I was on the fence about posting this. Mind you, Leah was on Kenny's page posting, take my man off your videos. Because, you know, Miguel is very popular and Kenny likes to be popular. So Kenny had videos of him and Miguel up on his page. Leah was like, take my man off your page, you racist. I love Leah so much. And I was on the fence about sharing this until Janae's best friend spoke up. Now, y'all know, I'm that friend, by the way. If you do something to my friend, I'll be bad cop. I will be the goon. She can be gracious. She can be nice. I will flip a table on my friend's behalf. I'm that friend, okay? I don't want to call it a girl's girl because y'all weaponize that to silence women from holding people accountable. But I'm the friend who will shame the devil if you hurt somebody that I love. Like, perfect example, when Jessie was getting death threats about that white lady lying on her, I said, girl, I'm coming on your live to cuss everybody out. I don't mind being that friend. So when I saw that Janae's best friend had posted, I said, now we're going to finally get the truth. Now, because when you have a friend who's being too nice and being kind to the public, but you want to flip a table, you can say all the things that she can't. And Janae's best friend posted, my advice for women in relationships, if you have access, go through your man's phone today. Janae is at the party taking Snapchats with her man and her best friends. PPG, we up. We are the three. This is the first time in Love Island history where 3 couples have all remained best friends to the point where they were allowed to spin off. They made Love Island history as a trio. PPG and their boyfriends, right? The only male from PPG who had his own clout was Cordell, because he's Odell Beckham's brother, and him and Serena had the biggest love story of the season, and they won. Although that was not enough for them to be on Call Her Daddy, because Call Her Daddy for some reason doesn't like, let me shut up. So Cordell is the only man who actually had his own smoke. But as fine as Miguel is, Miguel got finer when he got with Leah. Can we be honest? As quiet as Kenny is, Kenny was only relevant because of Janae. So they made history as a trifecta. So you spent the last year thinking me and my girls are up. We're all in love. We're all making money. We all have a spinoff show. Now we're at this birthday party popping bottles because we're 2 or 3 episodes into our series on Peacock. We are up. And for some reason, you get access to your man's phone. My heart is breaking just thinking about this. So Janae's best friend goes on to say, search for keywords like, I don't like Black women. I thought I would get more money from this, and I'm faking this relationship. Going on the show would be for clout. I can't wait to be done with this so I can fuck hella bitches. By the way, this is so clever because she said she posted this as if she was giving advice to other women while quoting directly what Kenny allegedly wrote in the text that Janae saw. I'm gonna read it again. My advice for women in relationships is if you have access, go through your man's phone today and search for keywords like, I don't like Black women. I thought I would get more money from this. I'm faking this relationship. Going on the show would be for clout, and I can't wait to be done with this so I can fuck hella bitches. You'll thank me later. P.S. Never spare a man. Dog them out, baby girl. Way. Got it. You guys. Again, I'm gonna say this, if anybody from last year who called me anything but a child of God wants to apologize for saying that Kenny was I know black Dominican. This man flat out told all his homeboys that he does not like Black women and that he's only with Janae for clout and that he's disappointed that he couldn't get more money out of her from being with her. And him and his boys were laughing about it. It's one thing to do it, because that makes you a bad person already. It's one thing to do it. It's something else to use it as a humiliation ritual. So you had your girlfriend coming to dinner parties and club events with your boys. You had your girlfriend going to dinners with your boys. You had your girlfriend thinking that she was at kickbacks with you and your boys. And the entire time, all of you were laughing at her as a jigaboo. Janae is who y'all think Olandria is. All that misplaced concern that y'all have for Olandria, y'all should have had it for Janae last year. By the way, who's the one person who's not worried for Olandria? Me. Because y'all know I like the things to be on the record. I'm not worried for Olandria. I'm not worried for Olandria. What did I say earlier? Sometimes a BIPOC person can be harboring more anti-Black sentiments than a white person because they see us as competition. Kenny resented the fact that he had to be with the jigaboo in order to get clout. And that's why he had to humiliate her to his friends. He couldn't hold that in. He resented the fact that he had to be next to this dark-skinned Black girl. As an I know Black Dominican. He was so disgusted by her, he had to find a place to clown her because he couldn't do it publicly. Meanwhile, Nick is the complete opposite of a Kenny. And I saw somebody post this. I think it was like 2 days ago, and I wish I could find her video because I really, really wanted to reach out to her and ask her to come on live or at least post her video so you guys could go follow her. This young lady posted about how she went and watched back the entire season of season 7, only watching Nick because she wanted to like see, do y'all have a point being concerned for Olandria? And when I read her thread, it made me go back to certain episodes, and she was right. This is what she said. She said Nick chose Olandria as the person that he wanted to get to know from day one, the first day, very first day, when there was no incentive, there was no hierarchy, there was no fan reactions, there was no politics. It was 5 minutes into them all meeting each other. He was already flirting with Olandria, and as soon as Ariana said, "Who do you want to kiss aside from the person you're coupled up with?" he went straight for her. Immediate attraction, right? Not pandering. Because at that point, she's a dark-skinned Black girl, which means she's either going to be Janae like last year and be considered a biohazard, or she's going to be Serena and be considered popular. He can't clock it yet. So before he knew what anybody else thought of her, he himself thought, "You are gorgeous." Right? And somebody said, "Okay, let's see you in a year." Oh, I promise you in a year, we're not going to find out that Nick was anti-Black and only with Olandria for clout. We're not going to find that out in a year. So please, yes, in a year, we'll be able to say that Nick was not with Olandria just for clout because Nick liked Olandria before she even had any. So thank you. Yes, please come back in a year and bring my views up for being correct again. You guys have been doing this for 20 years. I've been right 95% of the time. This is not a fluke. So Nick liked Olandria and made it known to Ariana and the viewing public the very first episode. And why didn't we latch on to that? Because so many of us are not used to thinking that a man like her could like a girl like her. I mean, a man like him could like a girl like her when he considers has all these options. I talked about this in a video that went viral with Jesse, how when people say, "Nick, are you sure you like Olandria?" But they're really saying, "Hey, attractive white man with all these options, why are you chasing a jigaboo?" That's what they're really saying. So the first episode, before Nick knew anything, he chose Olandria as the person that he wanted to get to know. But he immediately clocked that she liked Taylor, so he fell back. Whenever Taylor was trying to figure out how to do right by Olandria, Nick and Ace would give him advice about how to be better towards her. Now, Ace gave him advice about how to lie. Ace was like, "Yo, Jalen is showing her heat. You better cook her pancakes with the crispy edges before she finds somebody else." So Ace was actually helping him manipulate. But whenever he would see Olandria being treated back by Taylor, Nick by himself would pull aside Taylor and be like, "Yo, Taylor, like, she's a good girl. Be nicer to her." When Nick found out that he had a chance to be coupled up with Olandria, he confessed his feelings. He shot his shot. He was blushing. He laid it on thick. As soon as he realized that Olandria was still stuck on Taylor, what did he do? He still looked out for her. Even when Taylor wanted Olandria voted off, Nick was the lone voice saying, "Respectfully, Clark, we just met you. We're not getting rid of Olandria." Now think about that. There's a thing that women have in this world called "fuck you sundress." Fuck you sundress is what happens when a woman's walking down the street in a pretty sundress, looking cute, sun is shining, hitting her melanin, and the guy says, "Yo, shorty, can I get your number?" And she's like, "Nah, I'm sorry, I got a man." And suddenly he responds, "Well, fuck you then, sundress." So many fragilely masculine men will think you're gorgeous until you reject them, and then it's fuck you. Nick got rejected by Olandria after laying his heart on the line in front of millions of viewers, and he still looked out for her when he had nothing to gain. In fact, Olandria leaving would have been best for him and Taylor's game, because then he could have gotten rid of her and not had to confess to anything to Sierra. And he still looked out for her, even when it was against his best interest. That is the complete opposite of Taylor, Brian, and Kenny. So I will die on this hill. The concern you have for Olandria, who was with a man who took care of her even when he could get nothing from her, even after she rejected him publicly, is not the same thing as Janae, who with Kenny, who was latching onto her when he needed her to stick around. It's not the same. Is there any nuance in the room? Nick does not play about Olandria. Yes, girl, say it. I posted in my last live with Dexter a compilation video. If you haven't seen that live, go watch it back. Even though it got a copyright strike, so I'm not going to make no money, but still. In that last live, they did a compilation of Nick on live, and one live, he was only on there for like an hour. Every time you asked him a question, the answer was Olandria. Nick, what's your favorite color? Alandria. Nick, who's your favorite celebrity? Alandria, because she's a celebrity. Nick, what did you eat today? Hopefully, Alandria. When he went on that podcast with those white girls who had been clowning Alandria all season, he had her in the background and was like, babe, I'm going to go on the show without you and have your back. I watched that podcast, by the way, because I was like, Nick's about to go on a podcast where they've been dragging his girl. Alandria was not invited because they're racist. But like, why is Nick going on this show? Because I still am protective of Alandria, right? So I'm watching this show like, Nick, you better keep it cute. Don't disappoint me. Don't disappoint me. Nick came on at the 38-second mark. For anybody who wants to find it, I remember the exact timestamp. At 38 minutes and 40 seconds, 40 seconds into the interview, he mentioned Alandria. Those girls could barely say hello to him. He was like, well, I don't know. They were like, oh, we like your meatball shirt. They were flirting with him. Oh, we like your meatball shirt. We heard you only had 6 or 7 shirts. That's why you had to borrow clothes from Taylor and everybody else. Are you going to go shopping? He said, Alandra's going to take me shopping. So I just need y'all to understand. Somebody said, Blue, can you please show a clip of your past commentary talking about Kenny? I would love to hear. Oh, honey, I have done so many lives. If I find it, I definitely will. I've done so much content, but that's a great idea, actually. So I just need y'all to know. I just need y'all to know that, like, Nick does not play about Olandria, even if it means embarrassing other white-presenting people when she's not in the room. A man who will have your back when he has nothing to gain. A man who will have your back even when people who he wants to like him are being crazy to you. A man who makes it clear that he does not play about you. That is who you invest in, regardless of color. So we live in a space now where Black and brown men are playing in the faces of Black women. And you have this one white boy, although he acts like a YN from Miami. You have this one white boy who is showing not only is an ally, his mom is an ally. What did I say earlier about Amaya? I said that I have Dominican brothers and sisters. I have 6 brothers and sisters. They're all Dominican and Cuban. I'm the Haitian and Cuban one. I'm the black sheep of my family. And so I'm always checking, what kind are you? I don't just judge people based on how they look, because I recognize people come in different iterations. Just because your community is anti-Black doesn't mean you're anti-Black, right? I'm always willing to have somebody show me that they are better than their ecosystem. Amaya had me, my heartstrings were pulling for her when she was talking about her family with Brian on her date. I was really feeling warm and fuzzy towards her because I was like, fuck, she has family. She loves them. I think this is so beautiful. I do think she's Huda. I do think it was suspect how she attacked the dark-skinned Haitian girl as a Dominican girl. But like, she has family and viva la rasta, right? I was willing to put aside my own trepidation. So when I saw Maya being anti-Black 10 years ago, and then see her being complicit and befriending anti-Black castmates in the present tense, my first thought was, she was raised like this. Conversely, Nick, when I see Nick's mother and father crying and cheering for Nick Alandria, when I see Nick's mother and sister reaching out to Olandria's mother and Black stud sisters. Olandria doesn't just have Black family, she has queer Black family. That's a 2-for-1 special on the Oppression Olympics, guys. Alandria has a mother and 2 gay Black, well, queer presenting. They look like studs. If you see a picture, they look like studs. She's a Black mother, 2 queer presenting sisters, and a father with alleged gang affiliations. If there was ever a reason for a Black woman, a white woman who was fragile to not fuck with somebody, it'd be Alandria's family, right? Every reason you have to see Black people as less than human, Olandria unwittingly has it. A single mother, gay sisters, and a gang affiliated father. And yet, what did Nick's family do? They reached out and said, if your boy and if my boy and your daughter like each other, we think she's amazing. We think she makes him a man. We love who he is in her presence. Please come over for dinner. So in the same way that I blame Amaya's family for Amaya's anti-Blackness, I'm also crediting Nick's mother and his father and his family for why Nick is a true ally who sincerely loves that girl. Your ecosystem matters. When you are choosing a partner, you have to make sure you're looking at their ecosystem, not to punish them, but to inform where you are safe and where you are not. If Amaya had come out and said, I'm Dominican, and back in the day, I used to say really anti-Black things because I grew up in a really anti-Black area, but now that I've gotten older and I've learned some things, I recognize that I had some anti-Blackness that I've harbored, and I want to speak up in defense of Amaya and Shelly. We'd be having a whole different life right now. This life would be totally different, right? So I need you guys to know, learn from Nick and Kenny and Amaya and Brian. When you're dating someone, rather than judging them on their optics, ask them, where do you come from and how do you handle where you come from? If you have problematic family, are you willing to set a healthy boundary with them? And it's hot in here, so I have to go soon because I just finished working out. So I want to make sure I shower before my live with Kendall. You guys, by the way, come back at 3 o'clock. We're doing a live with Kendall. Or are you dealing with somebody who's part of the problem? And so I'm just going to say this, Kenny, you are a horrible person. You are a disgusting human being. You are a pathetic man. Janae does not deserve anything that you've done to her. I am so happy that her village and the general public are lifting her up, but there's nothing that any of us are going to be able to say to speak to the psychological warfare that this young lady has been subjected to. And rather than you guys coming in here for us to be sensational about how much we hate Kenny, please lift Janae up in your hearts. That's why I did this live today, because my heart is hurting for her. I know what it's like to date someone who is talking ill about you. I once dated a guy who was obsessed with me, but I didn't find out until afterwards that he was fat phobic and he was blowing up my phone, but telling his friends that I was delusional and stalking him when it was the other way around. I've been a Janae before. I know what it's like to be with somebody who wants to make sure that everybody that they know doesn't think that you deserve them. It is a horrible feeling. It took a lot of therapy for me to recover for that. So headlines outside of this, can we please send some love to Janae? Right? Drag Kenny, but send some love to Janae. All right, guys. Somebody said Janae came out and said Kenny's family is not the problem and not involved. I hope that is true, but I find it hard to believe. I also find it hard to believe, and Janae has a history of being an apologist. Go with your own gut, because people tend to want to defend their abusers because out of some weird allegiance that they have. Even if you watch the Cassie and Diddy trial, when Cassie admitted that she still loved Diddy, I wasn't surprised. Just because somebody victimizes you doesn't mean that they didn't groom you to love them or to at least think you love them, right? I don't think Janae and Kenny ever liked each other in the real way. I think Janae liked the story that was built around her and Kenny, and that she might have unintentionally turned a blind eye to anti-Blackness that probably in retrospect is now starting to make sense to her. Kenny's not smart enough to be this anti-Black. I think there were things that Janae willfully turned the other cheek and looked away from because she wanted the story. And what do I always tell you guys? Fall in love with people, not with stories. Because when you fall in love with the story, this is what happens. All right, guys, I'm going to end this live now because we're going live again in an hour with Kendall, and I need to take a shower. So if you guys enjoyed this live, please say the word prayers up to Janae in the comments after I save this so I can know that you got to the end. Prayers up to Janae tells me that you saw the end of this. And I will see you guys in an hour when my friend Kendall, y'all know Kendall, he is the king of love and hip hop and just reality TV commentary. He's going to come on to talk about season 13 of Love and Hip Hop. I have not watched Love and Hip Hop in so many years. Kendall's the only reason why I even started back up again. It's just as ratchet as I remember. So I will see you guys again in an hour. All right. Love you, family. Bye.